when that rig dropped and the sails started filling up with water and the boat started to crank over, in my mind, I'm like, okay, it's going to level out. The weight of the water in the sails and the boat listing, like they're going to find a happy medium. We're okay. And then when water started coming over the coaming and into the cockpit, it was clear that we were not going to be okay. We were going to sink.
On the Wind is presented by Orca, navigation for the modern boater. We've always used tablets for navigation on Isbjørn, and they have been great for a number of reasons. But iPads were never designed to live on the ocean. To make them work for navigation, you need to work your way around or accept a few issues. All of these problems have now been solved by Orca. They just sent me an Orca Display 2, and it's a waterproof navigation tablet tailor-made for sailing. Its screen brightness range is amazing. It can charge wirelessly with a charging mount that can be installed anywhere, and it can operate in colder and hotter temperatures than regular tablets. Also, it has physical buttons, yes, so you can actually use it with mittens in the cold or when the screen is covered in water. The charts and navigation is excellent, intuitive use with weather routing built in. You can even test out the Orca app on your phone or tablet for free before investing in the display itself. But what makes Orca really great is the Orca Core, which is a small antenna compass hub about the size of a fist. Installation couldn't be easier. You just plug it into the N2K network and you're done. I plug mine right into the N2K backbone behind my electrical panel at the nav station on Isbjørn, and it just worked perfectly. It does not need to see the sky or even be oriented in any particular way to function. It draws power and data directly from the network and streams it smoothly to the display and turns the tablet into a portable chart plotter with all of your data right there. Depth, AIS, wind, engines, batteries, everything and anything available right on the tablet. And last but not least, Orca is a Norwegian company, so you know that they know what they're doing. Thanks to Orca for sponsoring On the Wind. Check them out and get your display today at getorca.com.
August, welcome back. How does it feel to be back from the wilderness?
Thank you so much. Yes, it feels fantastic. It's been quite the ride. First, I've been on paternity leave and then summer vacation, and now finally back aboard. So it's been great. It's been fantastic, but it's also very nice to be back with some more capacity with 59 North. So excited for that.
Where are you starting? Like, where are you putting your energy now? You come back, you're like, okay, I've been away for 9 months. All right, this is what I'm going to do today.
Yeah, that's a lot of it was just kind of getting back, setting myself back up. So had a few things I had to take care of. My computer was ran over during my summer off, so that was kind of the first thing to deal with. But no, I've been working since for the last couple of months, but it's all been Isbjørn, just kind of putting out fires and making sure that the Isbjørn program has been running smoothly, which it has most of the time, but there's also a couple of I do have a couple of stories for later podcast episodes, so fear not. But I hadn't, I've been not been able to do any of the media stuff with podcasts with you and the Quarterdeck and all this stuff. So that's where I'm really excited to get back on the horse.
Yeah, I'm excited too to have you back on the Quarterdeck and on the podcast. This is going to go in the intro to Jesse's episode for next week. But after this, you and I are going to record a podcast that I think we're going to be talking about anchoring. I believe that's today's topic. So very excited to get back in this with you. So speaking of Isbjørn, I think we have just a few openings you want to talk about for next year. I think this year is full on Isbjørn anyway. Next year, I think the only thing we have open actually this year is one women's bunk on the Middle Sea race with Nikki, and then a couple bunks on this Adrienne return transatlantic, which is I was telling you before we started recording, we're delivering the boat back for Gura now. We did this in February. We're doing it again, this time from Brazil. And it's a rare opportunity to do a transatlantic, a long passage on a Swan 70 for $3,500. There's a couple spots left. We're doing it as a delivery. So get on there now before they go. And it's a great chance to sail back with Tim and Eric. It's going to be run exactly like any other 59 North trip. We never discount. We've never had to do this, but here it is, $3,500 if you want to go across the Atlantic. What about Eastbjorn for next year, August?
Also, pretty much sold out, but we do have for next year, we have 4 bunks available on the Shetland race, which is going to be in June next year with myself skippering. So that's a great opportunity to come and see what Swan 48 can really do, and also to bring a couple of friends and do a race, really a really good one. And we also have 2 available bunks on the last trip of the season, which is starts in Les Sables d'Olonne with the start of the Golden Globe race. So you get to enjoy that with front row tickets, and then you sail from there all the way up to Norway, Bergen. So that's also going to be a fantastic trip.
I'm actually interviewing next week. Her name's Mara. Let me see if I can pronounce this right. Mara Löwenskjöld, I think that's how you say that. There's a slash through the O. Anyway, she's Norwegian and is doing the Golden Globe race. So she's like in the med now, prepping for it, getting her boat ready, and I'm going to interview her for the podcast next week.
Very cool. Very cool. Oh, that's nice. Hey, you snatched a Norwegian podcast guest right in front of my face.
Right out from under you. But anyway, nice. You can see all those bunks. Everything we have available is on 59-north.com/bunks. All right, let's get to this episode. This one's with Jesse and August. It's great to have you back. Jesse is actually interviewing the founders, Logan and Caroline from SeaPeople, the SeaPeople app. So I'm excited to listen to this one as a fan. And August, until next week,
hold fast.
Hey everyone, welcome back. You are listening to On the Wind, and I get to be your host again today. I'm Jessie Zevelking. So I've lined up a fun conversation for us today with Logan and Caroline Rowell. They're the founders of SeaPeople, and they take us through the motivation behind creating this all-encompassing app for cruiser connectivity. And we discuss that fine balancing act between connectivity versus disconnecting, things we miss about the dinosaur days of sailing, and things that we really love about instant access to like minds, community, and data and communication. Thanks for listening today. Go enjoy this conversation and check out SeaPeople. Hey guys, how are you today?
Hi Jesse, how are you?
Doing good.
I'm fantastic. I have Caroline and Logan Rowell with me here today, founders of SeaPeople. How are you guys doing? What's going on today?
We're good. We're in the mountains of North Carolina, and it is in the 60s, so kind of 60-degree Fahrenheit. So we are sitting kind of bundled up and enjoying some cooler temperatures in the summer.
Yeah, it's freezing.
Yeah.
That's a dreamy temperature.
Yeah.
What did you just have for lunch?
We were at the lake all weekend with some friends, so we didn't have many groceries, so we kind of wrapped some cheese and turkey in a pita bread and made some hot tea. Which
is new, because Caroline would have never touched a piece of sliced turkey until a couple months ago. She's been vegan for as long as I can remember. But
I know, it's a really foreign thing to say still, that like I ate turkey for lunch. I'm like, who am I? But
it's so satisfying.
Yeah. Who are you? You're like all of the rest of us.
Yeah, trying to up my protein and minerals and vitamins and anyway.
Well, I super appreciate you guys joining me today. I'm super excited about SeaPeople and have lots of questions to dig into about it. So the conversation will just go where the conversation goes today. But I would love if you guys started with, could you just give me, like in your own personal words, a little summary as a cruiser, not as an owner, of SeaPeople? Tell me a little bit about SeaPeople.
Sure. Yeah, I think as a cruiser, I guess all I would really say to sum it all up is, after cruising for 20 years, I had nothing to show for it. I I would go on a bike ride for 2 hours on Strava, and record it on Strava and have more data and more logged things to look back on, photos and everything from a 2-hour bike ride than I had from 20 years of cruising. So for me as a cruiser, SeaPeople is a chance to log and track and keep all of those moments and all those memories that I wish that I had for 20 years that have kind of, they're in my mind, but I don't have them. And now the ones that I make from now and into the future, I'll never miss.
That's such a good point. I think I initially thought of it as more of a connectivity app, less as a log app. But if I think, some of my, if someone asked me if my house was burning down, what would I grab in my home? What's most important to me? It's probably my logbooks and my journals from my cruising years.
Yeah.
Which it's just harder and harder and harder to sit down and put a pen to paper, to the point where our hands cramp now and we're avoiding it.
Yeah.
So it is just not a realistic way where we can log all of the stuff we're doing anymore. So you've essentially brought, modern tech to recording and logging, and you kind of brought, like you said, Strava. That's a perfect example. Being able to log and record your sport and go do the sport for 20 years and be able to click through an app to be able to look back at all of it with notes and photos and all of the stuff. That's fantastic.
Yeah. And I think my answer kind of plays along that is being able to look back at photos. So how I've always kind of kept my log is I have all these photos that I've taken over the years, right? And I have memories of what went down at that place. But then to be able to look at a picture, whether it's mine or whether it's yours, or whether it's somebody that I just randomly meet on the internet, and to be able to look at a picture and to know more of what's behind that picture and what's behind that story, right? So I see a picture, I'm oh, I think that's when we were in the French Caribbean. And then I can go to that log, that track that I track, or that piece in my logbook, and be able to see where did we go that day? What else was associated with that? Who was on the boat with us? What was our speed? All these different things. So,
which is such a nice way to reference stuff when it does come up in conversation, or when you need to, when you're sharing information with a new cruiser, for example, and you want to just go back in your log and say, this person, this place.
But the important thing I think we probably shouldn't move on without saying is that's the personal, one of the personal kind of single player utilities for the app. But what this does and what technology brings to us is that when you have all these users around the world tracking and logging these trips, the utility they bring for each other is insane, right? So right now already we're at almost or just over 100,000 miles being tracked in the app a week. So there's 100,000 miles worth of experiences and routes and tips and things that everybody can learn from. So when you take all of those trips and you put them into one place, you can pull them up, lay them on top of each other and go, okay, this is the most common way people go on the north side of Mona Island instead of the south side, or vice versa. Or okay, let's take all of this information and all this data and put it in one place, so that we can all benefit from it. And we can all say, okay, wow, this is where everybody seems to go in this part of Greece. And that maybe is a reason why you go there, or a reason why you go, I'm going to the other place where nobody goes, or whatever, however you might want to use all of these, this conglomeration of tens of thousands of users and millions of miles of track lines, is infinite, really.
Well, we've been talking for less than 5 minutes. I'm already very proud of you guys for pulling this off.
Well, it's a team effort.
It's impressive.
Huge
Truly.
team effort.
It's impressive. I realize. And and I had said to you guys before we got recording here, those who are listening today or anytime in the future, if you go to the SeaPeople website, it's just SeaPeople.com, correct?
SeaPeopleApp.com. Yeah.
SeaPeopleApp.com. Thank you. They have a great video on kind of the birth of this project, and it's fascinating. There's so much that went on behind the scenes to turn this tech into reality, into a user-friendly thing on your phone in your hands that you can use offshore. What a massive, massive process, which we can chat a little bit more about later. But good job.
Thanks.
Just good job. Super cool. I signed myself up this morning. I made myself an account and
Lovely.
put in all my
Lovely.
details. I have 5 days. Woohoo! 5 days, guys. 5 days
Nice.
set aside next week to go cruising.
Well, you can bring
And,
in bring in all your past trips. You can bring in you can start bringing in your past history and build that logbook out and bring in all the things from
I
before
would
your
love
user.
to.
Yeah.
What a great place to put all the archives. I love it. Okay, so you cruised around for quite a while before this became your life, I imagine. Can you give me a little background on where and how you guys started cruising?
Yeah, sure.
Why don't you start?
I'll start.
the journey.
Yeah. Jesse, you and I are kind of a little bit the same as far as the cruising really young and really early.
Yes.
I kind of ran away from mountain life as a kid. At 18, my parents gave me an awesome hall pass to take a year off. I just probably less of a hall pass and more of a let's have him sow some wild oats and not ruin his life in college by failing out or whatever they were hoping that I would accomplish. But I did.
They gave you a green light.
Yeah, they did. They green lighted taking a year off before school. So senior year of high school, started trying to scheme how in the world to buy a boat. I was going through the listings of what I could afford by selling my car and skis and bikes and all this stuff. And then, found a path to an old shitty boat, and then, took that year and went sailing. Broke the mast off.
Where'd you go?
We were in Wilmington. Yeah, the story gets pretty wild.
How old are you?
39. So I was 18.
No, sorry. When you started, you were 18.
Oh, I was
my
18,
God. Okay,
yeah.
right.
So it was like 21 years ago now. It's like usually when I say I've been cruising for 20 years, people are like, oh, so you're 60? You're like,
Starts to sound weird, doesn't it?
yeah. So we bought the boat in South Carolina, moved it to North Carolina. I'm going to give you the quickest version I can. Spent a few months in a boatyard in North Carolina. This incredible human being named Doug Duke helped us. He was kind of our broker for finding it, which anybody that's a broker knows that when you're buying a $15,000 to $30,000 boat, the broker's not making anything close to what it's worth their time. But he loved the dream. He loved the mission. I think we were the youngest people he'd ever heard of or seen ever trying to go cruising. So he thought it was pretty cool at the time.
He wanted to help.
Yeah. And he suggested that we come to Wilmington, a marina there, a boatyard in Wilmington. So we went there, worked on the boat forever, took off, went to go splash the boat, had saved $1,500 of cash. That was going to be what we cruised on for 8 months. It got stolen. We went to go pull it out to pay for our, we had like $2,000 left in there to give the $500 for the last bit of putting us down in the water where the travel left, and all the money was gone. So we left Wilmington, heading straight offshore, bound for what we thought was Dominica, Martinique, kind of trying to get down to the real lush tropical islands with about $15. And
Oh my God! And what was the boat?
it was a Dufour 4800, which is interesting because 4800
Okay.
means nothing. I still can't figure out why they named it. It's not 4.8, meters. It's not 48 feet. It's 34-foot boat. Is
weird.
the model of the 4800. I don't know.
I was like, that's a big first boat.
Yeah, no, it was not. It was a decent boat. It's like a production boat. It's what you could afford to get on at the time, but it was cool. But we broke the mast off of the boat as you do at 18.
20 years later, you can say that so casually.
Yeah. Snap the rig off. In the moment, it was one of those things that's kind of crazy because the reality was when the rig dropped, and this is the beginning of the trip, I knew that the 8-month dream was over, right? Like in your mind, we were bound for the lush tropical islands of the Windward Islands and all the way down to hopefully Trinidad. And all of our money and all of our time as teenagers was pumped into this project and this thing. And you have a limited amount of time. You're starting school the next year. And when that rig dropped, it dropped and the sails started filling up with water, and the boat started to crank over. And my buddy that was with me, who was not a sailor, I was teaching him how to sail while we were out there, and I wasn't much of a sailor. I grew up sailing on lakes and stuff. And in my mind, I'm like, okay, it's going to level out. The weight of the water and the sails and the boat listing, like they're going to find a happy medium. We're okay. And then when water started coming over the coaming and into the cockpit, it was clear that we were not going to be okay. We were going to sink. And so Doug Duke, that mentor guy, interestingly enough, when we were pulling off of the dock in Wilmington, he came running down the dock with this huge pair of bolt cutters. And he was like, I forgot the one thing that you don't have on the boat. And he handed me those. And
oh, Doug.
And yeah, Doug, legend. And so I was able to get rid of all the rigging and all the loads on even the halyards, right? Like they needed a bolt cutter to cut them. Mm-hmm. And left, I don't know if it was the topping lift or a spinnaker halyard or something, so that we wouldn't lose the rig. And so it kind of all dropped off, and the boat righted itself back up. And then we have this mast, full canvas, down in this crystal clear water, big sun rays kind of coming over it, and thinking, okay, well, what are we going to do? We know we can't tow this thing. We try to get it back up alongside the boat, and it's just bashing into the hull. And so after a while, it just kind of became clear that our only option was to cut it free. And at that point, that's when the reality, I think, sunk in for me, that the dream, that was it. There's no coming back from that with the time frames we had. And watch that thing sink, thousands of feet into this crystal clear water. And then I don't know what I remember ripping all my clothes off. At some point I'm naked, I'm in the water swimming down. I'm just totally lost. It, you're back screaming at the sky, and but
total devastation
that turned into to utter sheer beauty. Turning back around, discovered the Bahamas, which I'd never even thought about going to, and fell in love with Bahamian people and Bahamian culture. And it was a different Exuma back then, but still just as good now. But played on these softball teams with the Bahamians against the American Army, and just created these bonds and these friendships that were just incredible, and kind of maybe put me on the trajectory for the rest of my boating life. So no complaints. At the time, it sucked.
Wow,
it sucked bad.
Oh yeah, I think there's such a theme though, and like the most terrifying and toughest moments at sea always lead you to a lot of frustration and devastation, but also some of the best unplanned parts of the journey.
100%.
If I can think back to the places I've been stuck against my will, they are in my memory the best experiences of all of cruising.
Yeah.
You never intended to go to this place. You never intended for this to break, and you just end up kind of spending lengthy amounts of times in places that are unplanned, and then you join a baseball team and play against the Americans.
Well, that's Caroline's experience too. But I mean, you want to just pick up?
Well, so that's what I was going to say.
Panama.
Yeah. So I can kind of jumpstart with that topic of when we ended up fast forwarding a ways. We ended up working on a private sailing yacht together as crew. And
which was how you met initially, or you?
No, so we met. So rewind a little bit. Logan did end up going to university, kind of on and off. And my senior year of college, I wanted to just kind of take advantage of like everything that the university was offering. And I was like, I've always wanted to sail. I grew up boating on lakes and things like that. Like I wanted to be a boat builder since I was like 2 years old, or in second grade at like a professional day or whatever. And it's always what I wanted to do. So I just I had this affinity for boating. But anyway, so I joined the sailing club, and he was the president and of the sailing club. He was teaching.
It was all a ruse to meet girls. I mean, that was the whole purpose.
Well, it worked.
It worked perfectly.
You met your wife.
As best, as perfectly as you could have imagined.
Yeah. So
well
anyway,
done.
So I met him through that, and we ended up sailing a little bit together our senior year. And then after we graduated, he called me. He's like, "Do you want to? I'm working as a captain on this private private yacht. Do you have any interest in doing that with me? And so, yeah, basically I said yes.
Yes.
And yes, 100%.
There were no jobs. A little sidestep here. That was 2010. We graduated from Chapel Hill in 2010, and because of the 2008 financial crisis, there was literally no jobs. So like getting back on a boat was the greatest way to make
I just want to say I had a job, but
Let's just make that clear.
let's make that clear.
There are no jobs for bums like me.
I had a job, and I quit my job for you. Let's make that also very clear.
That's a bold move, though. That's a bold move. But clearly, this was something you were already dreaming of in your own way.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it was definitely like, okay, got to do this. And so I flew to St. Martin to meet him on the boat, and we just kind of like, we were on a mission to get to the Pacific. And so we got
at this point, are you not yet in relationship?
Yes.
Yeah, I would say
Or
for
it's
this
beginning.
project and this thing.
Okay.
And you have a limited
Okay.
amount of time. You know you have to, you're starting school the next year. And when that rig dropped, it dropped and the sails started filling up with water.
Just for
And
fun,
the boat
or
started to crank over. And my buddy that was with me, he was not a sailor. I was teaching him how to sail while we were out there.
Yeah.
And I wasn't much of a sailor. I grew up sailing on lakes and stuff. And in my mind, I'm like, okay, it's going to level out. The weight of the water and the sails
Cool.
and the boat
Yeah.
listing, like they're going to find a happy medium. We're okay. And then when water
That's great.
started coming over the coaming and into the cockpit, it was clear that we were not going to be okay. We were going to sink.
What?
And so Doug Duke, that mentor guy,
Well, you were
interestingly
aboard.
enough, when we were pulling
We
off
could-
of the dock in Wilmington, he came
We
running
could have
down the
an
dock with
entire
this huge
interview
pair of
on
bolt
this
cutters.
topic
And
alone.
Yes. Yeah, we probably could. It was definitely.
You two were okay,
Yep.
like physically okay.
We were physically okay. Physically.
But mentally, we're not okay, and your electronics were not okay. Was the
yeah.
boat okay?
The boat was okay. Yeah.
The boat
it
was seaworthy.
Okay.
Yeah.
We didn't blow through hulls or any of the horror stories that you hear about, but like
no.
we were dead in the water
Yeah.
and full blackout. No breeze.
And it was at night.
Yeah,
Which was the
coming up
other
on
scary
sunset
part.
in a remote part of the Pacific side of
Yeah.
Panama that's not really charted. So it put a pucker
That's
in your
Very
Yeah.
scary.
butt for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. Yes.
Whoa.
We were there for 9 months. I
But
think
we
that was
ended up,
kinda-
how we got to this topic was we were talking about some of these terrible things leave you in wonderful locations, and you realize like the beauty of what actually happened to you, and that's what
Ooh,
happened
it
in
gives me
Panama.
chills. Yeah.
So we got struck by lightning. We ended up getting back to Panama City, and after a whole mess of trying to get back there, but we got back and we were there for 9 months, and we just we fell in love with Panama. I mean, it was
great friends.
yeah, we made incredible friends. We went up to the mountains. We took off surfing every chance we got. Anyway, it was just such a great
Yeah.
time in our lives, I feel like. And that's where we kind of figured out as well, what's next, right? Because we didn't foresee the boat leaving anytime soon. And we were kind of on a mission to keep going with an adventure, right? And so, so we took off from there.
Ready to move on.
Yeah, ready to move on from that. And so we took off, and we went traveling for a little while. And then Logan's like, I think he had gone to school in New York City for a little bit. And he's like, I think you should spend a summer in New York City. It's a fun place for everybody to get to know. So we went up there to work for a sailing school. And that kind of then became our life for the next 12 years. We, after we worked there for a summer, we ended up buying the business, and kind of,
Amazing.
overall.
Spent the next 11 years growing it and enjoying it and still living
having
the
a
cruiser's
seasonal-
lifestyle of being able to go sailing in the winter.
Yeah, we knew we wanted a seasonal job or seasonal business or whatever so that we could cruise on our own and not on somebody else's schedule and boat. And so that allowed us to do that. So
That's a pretty badass summary. I hate to skirt through some of those massive events because those massive events are very defining and interviews within themselves. You know, I mean, people spend the two of the biggest worst nightmares is losing a rig and getting struck by lightning. It raises the hair on my arms. So I appreciate how candidly you can just kind of scroll through that and say, hey, that is part of what we are doing out here, and these things can happen. And it's such a nice little reminder for those who are jumping into the cruising world. And you do have to have your wits about you, and we can only be prepared for so much. But at the end of the day, we all just cross our fingers and hope we're lucky enough to end up in a safe place at the end of it all, and with a hell of a story to tell and an excellent experience in the end. So I'm wondering if you guys have any kind of specific examples of when you were actively cruising, where you were feeling really isolated and where you were kind of craving community. Because I know a lot of us take off sailing because we want to disconnect. And then a certain amount of time goes by and that disconnect starts to feel too much. And then we get a little lonely and we're wondering where are all the people? And we can't just by happenstance continue to run into other young cruisers, right? So I'm imagining somewhere there was a brewing of missing community and feeling a little bit too isolated out there. So what were maybe some of those moments for you guys?
Yeah.
Hugely. I mean, I think for us, it was the beautiful moments with other people started to make the isolated moments harder, right? So you don't know what you're missing until you've got the other side of the coin. And we had covered tons and tons of miles all over the Caribbean and to New England and back and forth between New York and the Bahamas, season after season. And you'd have these seasons where you'd meet 3 or 4 other boats that you really got along with, and you'd spend the whole season with them or a big part of the season. You're like, wow, this is it. And especially back then, there was no remote work. There was very few people that were kind of doing it before retirement, and you'd really have a connection and a bond with people. And then you'd have a season where you just didn't make that connection. And you were like, wow, okay, life is still good. We've got each other and we're going to these places that we love. But let's be real, especially for somebody that is cruising the same area year after year, because we only had time with the 6 months that we had off in New York. Really, we could have gone farther than the Bahamas, but we wanted to spend more time in this, somewhere where we could surf and be active than underway cruising. And so we would get into these, pattern of just going to the Bahamas. And then you're like, okay, a lot of it is made or broken by who you're with, because you can only go to that. You can only go to that same island for the 15th time or the 20th time and it feel exciting and fresh, as jaded as that sounds. And so, we really wanted to just, we kind of became a bit of a mission, I guess, in our personal lives to try to make sure that we didn't miss a friend or a friend of a friend or somebody that we thought we'd get to, would get along with by one anchorage. And we knew it was happening. We knew somebody was literally one day ahead of us going down the coast or one spot over. And unless you literally went to every single boat and knocked on the hull, and introduced yourself, which we did a lot of that too.
Did you guys ever?
I
did too. I mean, sometimes you just get in the dinghy and go say hi because you got, that's all you got.
Binoculars out and you're like, I think they look young. And we was that was our classic. And then we just get in the dinghy and we go over there and be like, hey,
and there's something so beautiful about that, but it does take it's a big effort.
It is.
Yeah, and it goes beyond age though a bit too, right? Like if you see somebody hopping in their dinghy with a surfboard, you're like, okay, it doesn't matter if you're 80 or 28, you're like, sick. There's another person here that does what I do and is into what I'm into. And so that kind of became a big life goal and a life mission, which is bringing the community of boaters into one spot where the things that you have in common can come to the surface, right? I mean,
And VHF just wasn't cutting it.
Yeah, weird. That thing that was invented 100 years ago.
And more people are now having cell service in
connectivity
you
is
name it, every corner.
Yeah.
And Starlink, I imagine.
Yeah,
is
pros and
more
cons. There's so many
boats.
pros and cons to this connectivity, right? It's just you know better than anybody. You did it before it.
I can really relate to, a few things. Yeah, we had talked about I say I've been lucky enough to live 25 of my years without internet in my pocket. I resisted for a little bit to get an iPhone, for example. I did the whole great loop without an iPhone. And then my bestie Katie made me an Instagram like in the last year, and I started using it. And, and then the rest of my cruising, I was connected in the normal ways that were connected, but still in a little bit of a dinosaur way in comparison to what you guys have now created. And so I've got to experience a little bit of both at this point, and I feel nostalgic about some things, and I feel like totally jealous and envious about not having some of the things that now exist. And I think back to, I also did a bit of a split life like you guys, right? It's like you come home and work, and then you take your cruising season, and you're consistently going back to the same places, and the people that you spend time with completely make or break your experience. And specifically back to the Great Loop, when we were cruising down the rivers at 23 years old, there was only one, maybe two places, for the most part, only one place to stop every night on the river. So you end up kind of jumping down the whole river system with all the other boats that are doing the Great Loop, and you find yourselves at the same anchorage.
Yeah.
Almost nightly. By the time we got to Alabama, we were rafting up with two other boats every single night, having happy hour.
Cool.
And then by the time, the next year when we were kind of cruising the East Coast, there's a million options. There were so many places to go, so many inlets, so many anchorages, so many towns. You could go offshore, you could go inland. There was all these rivers you could explore, and it was very isolated. And I remember that second year when it was just Katie and I and the dog and the cat, like we started to go a little cuckoo. We were really, really missing and craving. Like, where are all of our people? We had so many great loop friends. Where are all of our looper friends?
Yeah, they spread out.
And it was like heaven when we ran into each other, and it didn't matter if they were the age of our grandparents. We just instantly loved each other, But I just very specifically remember that being a time where it felt really isolating. Like we were the only ones out there doing this thing, but we weren't, but we were.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, and I'm sure you had these feelings too. The pit in your stomach that everybody has before departure, right? When you're getting ready to go offshore, you're getting ready to leave, you have that kind of like nervous feeling, that pit in your stomach of like, is it the time to leave? Should I leave? Like, is it time to go? And all of those things are totally different when there's other people that are leaving with you, right? When you're the only one that's about to head across the ocean or just across the Gulf Stream to the Bahamas, and you don't know if the weather decision you made is right. Even if you made the weather, even if you're really confident in the weather, you're like, you're not never 100% confident in the boat. But when like, hey, there's 2 or 3 or 4 other people that I know that are making this crossing right now or whatever, then you sleep like a baby the night before. So that is definitely that isolation moment. I think if I ever had to say it, put a finger on where I feel isolated, for me, it's in the decision-making and the like pre-crossing. Once you get underway, you forget about all that, but the night before sucks.
Yep. It's so true. It's so true. The months before, the years before is where the anxiety lies. And you're right. The moment you leave the dock, you're free of that anxiety in a way because you've done everything you can do. And I think there's such a fine line between leaving feeling self-reliant, but also like not wanting to be alone out there, because that is a terrifying feeling. And it's like you can't depend on other people, but at the end of the day, like, if there's 10 people doing a passage or 20 people crossing the ocean or whatever it is, like there is comfort and power in numbers and comfort and power in combined experience and knowledge, which is really what SeaPeople has done, how you described in the beginning. Like, not only is it a record of, like a log record of statistics of things that we've done, but it is combined knowledge in one place where you can source it with a click
Yeah.
of a button. And I
Yeah.
think that's fantastic because there's too many avenues for information out there. So I think that's a great way to look at this tool.
Yeah, I mean, if we can get people into that have things in common into common spaces, which is what Strava has done, right? Strava has given a place for people that are into boating. I mean, they're into running and fitness, like a home, which is pretty awesome. And the saddest thing, I think, for me, as cell phones and connectivity got better and the smartphones came out, was cruising around in the dinghy in a harbor and watching people sitting in their cockpit scrolling their phones. And I'm like, whereas, even 5 years before that, it would have been a big wave. What is going on today? Where do we want to go? And it was like, okay, how do we get on it? We're not going to, nobody's going to make the iPhone go away. It's not going anywhere. People are now connected back home. They're able to scroll and keep up with friends back home and things happen around the world. So what can we do to bring them back into the moment, back into cruising, back into what this life is all about, which is the people around you and the places around you. And it's just it's a hard thing to do because your phone has got everything in the world on it.
Well, it has a hold on us, and to each their own to come up with their own boundaries with their phone and with the way that they stay connected and with the way they allow themselves to disconnect. It's a huge conversation, and I think you worded that really, really well because it is a fine line. We shouldn't we shouldn't not be utilizing current technology to restrict us from being connected in remote places and to restrict us from building community in places where it's incredibly important and valuable to build community. And all at the same time, you're right. It's like it is kind of disheartening to see someone with their head down when they should be looking up at the clouds and the birds and looking for other people. And it's all so much of it is out of our hands, right? All you can do is provide the tool and hope that people learn how to use it healthy in the way that they, have to figure out their own relationship with work, with social media, you name it. The list goes on and on and on. Yeah, it's fascinating. I imagine this was such a big developing conversation before you took action. Like, was there a moment that idea turned into action, or was it a bunch of like small actionable steps? Or was there a day where you basically said, F it, we are going to do everything we can to bring this thing to fruition?
I don't know. I think it just in our life in general has just been a little bit of when an idea pops up, we both jump in like full research mode, full let's go for broke mode. And so I'm not really sure. I mean, I know, at different moments, like when it comes to finding the first developers in India for like what we call now version 0, that is probably, to be honest, was probably just like a 16-hour day of just not, looking up, just like getting one idea and then going to the next and then going to the next and then calling a friend that's done this before and then getting some advice from him and then calling the next person and then getting back on and then somebody responding on Upwork, and then you go back to your friend and you got another question, it sends you on another lead, and all of a sudden it's like 16 hours have gone by, but you feel like you've got a month's worth of research done. And I think that's kind of how we've always treated not just the beginning of maybe SeaPeople, but every new project and every new piece of it is, okay, there's something major here. We kind of maybe overcommit to the detriment of time of our own mental health, but
hyper focus.
And maybe that's the ADHD. I'm not really sure, but I think when we felt like we had a team, I'm not saying we had a team like we put the team together, but when a team naturally came together that we thought could do something that was real and impactful, then it was game on. So, the incredible co-founders with Riley and Elena and Jean-Michel, that are just people that push hard and know what it takes, and they are really enable you to do things that would take you 10 times longer if you're trying to do it yourself, or you'd never ever be able to do as well, which is what you seek in those kinds of situations. So if anything, having somebody like Jean-Michel, who was the CTO at Shopify, on your team, it's like, oh, whoa, okay, now if we can dream it, we can do it. And now the pressure's on as well, because you bring in somebody like that on your team, they're going to have expectations on, like, okay, cool, I built something really great. Like I put the pieces together. Now you've got to tell the world about it. You've got to sell them on it. You've got to get them here. You've got to retain them. You've got to make sure it stays cool. So
You found, though, a collaboration of people who are not scared to get their hands dirty and work hard, and all believe in the same thing, and all have different talents to bring to the table.
Yeah.
So you certainly rounded up a dream team. And I think, another thing that you all might have in common, or anyone who has spent a lot of time at sea has in common, is, we go through these fairly real life terrifying moments. Your mast comes down, you get struck by lightning, your first big storm, a knockdown, you name it. The list goes on, and you navigate the experience of these things. And then when you come back to land life, work life, every other aspect of your life, things feel less scary, or they feel scary in a different way. And you kind of you're already working on your fear muscle, I think, when it comes to your physical safety and some of the risks you've already taken at sea. And I honestly think they can really be applied to aspects of business and our professional lives, our parenting lives, you name it. I think it really helps strengthen our confusing relationship with fear. And so, now all of a sudden you're building this thing, you're building this idea turning to business. The stakes get higher because now more people are involved, more talent is involved, time is involved, money is involved. The stakes are just growing.
Yeah.
But there's something about you that says, well, if I did this, I can do this too.
Yeah.
Or if I've already done this, if I've made it through this, I can make it through this too.
Yeah.
And so I imagine that's a little bit of grit that you all had going into this as a collaborative team.
Yeah, I was about to say, for better or worse, it does. I feel like all of those experiences that you go through on the water, it kind of teaches you to power through things, right? It's always
Absolutely.
you've got to keep going, because if you don't, there's no one else here to do this for you, right? So you have to keep going. And I think with that, translating that to business can be good, but it can also be kind of detrimental to
You'll break your back
yourself.
over it.
Yeah, exactly. So, but for the business side, it's good.
We were a little brainwashed too, I think, a bit coming out of New York City after competing. Kind of like the way you have to stay on top of things in New York City to stay alive, and then also
Survival mode.
Yeah, and then we were in a high danger business. We had. Especially our downtown location, but really both locations, you have lots of boats on the water, lots of instructors, lots of customers zipping around ferries and tankers. So managing risk there, not worrying about the little things, while also trying to balance the operational side of running and growing that business, and managing the staff was definitely, I think, good kind of preparation for the rest of things in life seeming a little easy. It's
that's a good point. That's a
turbo
really good
all
point.
the time in that world, 7 a.m. to midnight during the summers. And so, it's it's good for you, I guess.
Yeah,
maybe.
it all, I guess, prepped you for the the hustle of creating SeaPeople. I do want to tap really briefly on the Young Cruisers Association, because you guys were behind getting that going, and that kind of occurred before SeaPeople occurred. Can you just tell me what Young Cruising Association is? Because I pulled a little quote from that website that I adore, and I just want to pick apart with you guys.
Yeah.
Okay. So this kind of, I would say, goes back a bit to your isolation question. Asking about, have you felt isolated? And mine's a little different. I've had plenty of isolating moments while on the boat, right? When you have your first hot, Christmas away from your family or whatever it might be. Those are big ones that I that stand out for me. But I think my true moment of isolation was actually when we went back to New York City after an incredible winter of cruising. And we had this insanely huge group of cruisers that we were rafting up with every night, eating breakfast, lunch, and dinner together, having bonfires on the beach. It was just this winter of socialization. It was so nice. And we got back to New York City. we're working, like you said, like super long days. I am working pretty much totally on the admin side at that point. So I'm like behind a computer. I'm not by myself. Yeah. Like not at the marina. I'm talking to customers on the phone. That's like my interaction I'm having with people. And it's great, but I'm realizing that I don't actually have like a community of like-minded people around me, other than like the people that we work with, which they're amazing. They're like family. But so that's kind of, that summer is where, for me, young cruisers, I was getting this sense of isolation. I'm like, I'm in New York City. I know there has to be people that are like me around, right? Like, so how can we try to harness all of these people into a platform or a community or whatever it may be for me to find my people? And so it was like kind of isolation led to this need or want. And
you built the website?
And literally that day I was like, I'm just going to build a website. I'm going to try to like get people together.
Yeah.
So just like
That's
sat
fantastic.
down, did it again. One of those.
We'd all called each other like the YCA just because it sounded so ironic to be so official sounding. And then reached out to a couple of other people who were like, hey, we're going to turn this into a real thing. Let's find more people. And so, yeah, kind of that's a very long story.
Yeah, sorry.
I don't even know where to stop. No, not your story wasn't long. I'm saying the YCA story is it's an awesome story that's had really incredible contributors, and also its own group of co-founders that made it possible.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. That's great. Yes, because I was kind of on board whenever you started probably sharing that on social media. I remember being excited about like, oh, hey, someone's trying to connect us all.
Mm-hmm.
There's the Great Loop Association, which I've also been a part of for years, but there's not that many of us there.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't even know about that trip. Is there still an age cutoff? Or no?
Never
has been. Mm-mm.
Oh, okay.
Nope,
Okay.
never
I don't know
has
why.
been.
For some reason, I heard there
we're
was
gonna have to
like a
keep upping it.
40-year age cutoff.
Yeah.
I know.
Well, for real. I was like, 40 years old is like not that far away now, and I don't feel any older.
Yeah.
So
No age cutoff. Technically, what we say is like pre-retirement is kind of like what we've always said.
Great.
Like instead of like, I mean, we feel, because obviously some of our best friends from cruising are, in their 80s.
Well, let's just give Lee and Cheryl a shout out too. Like the greatest YCA members probably ever. They're definitely in their 80s, and they epitomize what it means to be kind of the anti-yacht club.
Yeah.
YCA members.
They're an inspiration and an important piece of an association.
Yeah.
So I loved one of your like final quotes that was on the Young Cruisers Association website. It says, just remember, some places and moments are sacred. Sometimes the cameras should stay in your bag. Sometimes the stories don't need to be retold. Sometimes the secret spots should stay secret. YCA is here to help you find the people worth sharing these moments with. I love this because I'm a huge advocate for that. And I'm wondering, but it's hard. Mm-hmm. It's really hard to do. It's
really
hard to keep things to yourself. And I think personally, over the course of my just growing up and cruising experience, I went from wanting to be very public with my journey and sharing all of it to 10 years later, really embracing the privacy of it. And so I guess my relationship with sharing and not sharing has changed a lot. And I'm just wondering if you guys think do you think that cruisers are still honoring this idea, or do you think it's become merely impossible because we're just so addicted to connectivity?
It's interesting because I kind of have a little bit I feel a little split culturally, from surf culture and cruising culture, and surf culture really still protects surf spots, right? There is it doesn't need to be said. It doesn't need to be, even to the point where, ensuring that photos get cropped properly before they go into magazines to not show any sort of shoreline at all, any sort of building that could be, especially now where you can essentially reverse look up anything online. Whereas boating culture, and especially because of Instagram and YouTube and the potential for your travels to be content, it definitely has changed, I think, the way people imagine secret spots, right? Like there's a bunch of people can be friends and say, okay, you know, this is kind of our secret spot, but you have no control over somebody finding it and then putting it all over the internet. And that, I think that's why people start seeking more and more remote places. And they keep going farther and farther into more remote areas to find the spots that feel new and feel unique.
That's such an interesting parallel between like secret surf spot culture and sailing secret spot culture. I mean, there's a whole, you know, winter surfing community here in the Great Lakes. Well, Great Lakes surfing community in general, but they'll do it all year, you know, and they will not tell you where they're going.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if you're married. They're not telling you where they're going. Seriously, it's crazy.
That's funny.
So and I've never thought about that the way that you compared those two, because I guess you're right. People aren't trying to, you know, make a YouTube living out of it or make a business out of it, right? It is such a personal like endeavor, and I do feel like there are still sailors out there doing the same, but we are more motivated to have some bragging rights about. I think and I'm using the term bragging rights loosely. You know, I think what we want to showcase is how hard we worked to get somewhere. But I think what's often missed is the hard work. Do you know?
Yeah.
And I mean, what is often missed on the display of how it looks is the hard work. It's just the reward at the end, right? And we're all very drawn to like sharing how we made it to, or where we made it, but people don't fully understand how they even made it there.
Yeah, the adventure of getting there is the biggest part of it for most of the time, and it gets glossed over on an Instagram platform or something that shows the beautiful anchorage with you diving off the bow, and it's like, wow, that looks awesome. It's like, wow, okay, 750 miles were crossed to get there, or whatever else. But I think for us, you know, and especially as it pertains to the SeaPeople project, it's that sharing is important. It's important for safety. It's important for inspiring others. It's important for trip planning and all the things that we can, as other users, get from each other on the platform of like where to go and what to do and how to get there, what's cool, all these things. But if you don't want to share, you don't have to, right? And if you don't want to track, you turn it off early. You don't track. You track it, you have it in your logbook. I mean, but you just don't publicize it, right? It's a private trip in your logbook.
Yes.
So you're getting the miles and the time and the hours and the memories for you personally, but maybe it is a spot that you don't want to show the world about. And I think we've tried to design the product around what you would want as a real bona fide boater, cruiser, or even somebody just on a lake that's got your secret rope swing in that cove, which is, you can still use it and enjoy it. You don't have to give up your secrets. But you should also remember that 90% of what we all do in our day on a boat was inspired by somebody, right? We learned we learned that knot from someone. We learned about that anchorage typically from someone, right? And a lot of times we forget that and we start to think that they're ours when the reality is they came from someone at some point. So you do have a little bit of an obligation to pay it forward and continue to share the wheres and the hows.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I was going to use an example of like in the SeaPeople app, I remember seeing this drone shot of this. I mean, it was probably the most beautiful anchorage I've ever seen. And it was off in Greece, I believe. And it's just this one single boat. And it's like, you know, that is a secret spot, right? That they're showing. But it gave me so much like inspiration. And I'm just like lusting over it. Like I'm dreaming of the day that I can like find myself there.
Yeah.
And so it's a trade-off there, right? Of like showing that beauty to others to where they can be inspired and aspire to find themselves there, with, you know, also not giving away too much, but
absolutely. I think something I really like about it is, you know, if you have a profile on the app and if you are actively using the app, it is because you're actively cruising, you know, so like you're already, let's assume that you already have the boat and you're about to take off, or you already have the boat and you're already cruising. And so we start to do less of the comparison game and more of the like, I'm just interested in connecting with people now and learning and gathering information. Whereas the YouTube game is a little bit more of like many people are finding inspiration there, and you can, educate yourself in every way possible via YouTube now. But there's a really good chance that someone is still at home watching that at their desk for 5 years before they have a boat, if they ever have a boat. And so I think, the SeaPeople app is like, it is for the people that are already out there.
See it in real time.
Here's all the information. Yep, exactly. Exactly. I would love to, I guess I have two kind of follow-up questions to close us out today. I'm wondering first if there's anything that you miss about the dinosaur days of sailing, like that feeling of happenstance or mystery, serendipity. What do you miss?
I don't miss
What's
iWeb.
your nostalgia?
Did you ever?
I don't even know what iWeb is.
We had like a blog. Like this was like when?
Oh,
in
yeah, me too.
2011
A WordPress.
or 2000.
Just for friends and family.
It was just
We
for
weren't
my
trying to
grandmother,
promote it.
basically, to
I
to
don't miss the
follow
blog
along.
either.
And she would check in all the time, and we would just put up pictures. Sorry.
Right, is your way to communicate home.
Yeah. And so I don't miss that aspect.
I
I don't
miss
miss
so
that
much.
either. That's fair.
I miss so much, and if anybody, ever cares to listen to any piece of advice I give, which may never happen, but if they did, it would be that, put it down and create a great relationship with your phone, and honestly, with your electronics on your boat. I mean, at a certain point, sometimes it's good to turn it off. Use your eyes. Have moments with the stars, have moments in anchorages where there's no distraction. Because as soon as you get sucked back into your life back at home and what your friends are doing, it's impossible to be in the moment. You think you are, but it's impossible. So
it's very hard.
Yeah, and not to plug SeaPeople, obviously, again, but that was kind of an important thing for us, which is the ability to set it and forget it. That you can press start, you can get the utility you need out of tracking. You can literally not pick up. You could not pick up your iPhone for the next 14 days, and it will still do its thing. You'll have something to remember later. Use it as a camera, and we'll geotag those photos to your track line at some point. But the point being that I did a fun interview. It's in a Latitudes and Attitudes magazine with this couple named Skip and Kit, and they sailed.
Oh yeah.
They sailed with across the Atlantic a couple times on a little west sail they built. And when you sat down and talked with them, they can't even imagine going cruising in our modern world. And because all of their moments for them were unplugging. And unplugging for them just meant getting away from friends and family and a landline that would...
This was in the 70s, right?
Yeah, and a landline that would ring.
Yeah,
in the 70s. And it's like... And so, their piece of advice for everybody was just unplug. Just try to unplug and enjoy what the ocean can teach you, or the lake, or wherever you happen to be, even if it's for 2 hours, right? Can you get on your little lake sailboat for 2 hours and not take your phone out of your pocket or your backpack? Like, is it doable? Can you go that whole evening?
It's funny how hard it is.
Yeah, sunset. Can you do the sunset the whole night and the whole next morning without your phone? Can you do it? So.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful answer, and it actually answered one of my final questions for you, which was going to be, do you have any tips for finding a healthy balance between being plugged in and also unplugged? Because it is a fine line, but it sounds to me like that has been such a theme in how this was developed, and it is not created to be on it more, but to use it wisely and to have a healthy relationship with the media. Yeah.
I mean, hopefully there's a feed where you can get inspiration, but it's not designed for doom scrolling, right? It's not designed to suck you into cat videos that you aren't interested in if you're not a cat person. Or
come on, everyone loves cat videos.
Yeah, let's see cat videos. But I don't know what your personal kind of boundaries are with technology, especially when you get on the boat. I wouldn't say that we have found a great one. In our home life, we try desperately to not ever take, and same on the boat, we try not to have the phones they don't enter the bedroom, right? Like they stay out of the bedroom. They don't come into the cabin on the boat. So you're not in bed ever scrolling, and you're not in bed looking at things that keep you awake or keep you from sharing moments with your significant others. And just, with kids, it changes too. It changes so much with kids, the desire for your kids not to think that phone is somehow like glued to your hand and somehow part of your body, and
and in between you and them, and
it's
but
hard.
I would say we kind of have like an unwritten rule. Like if we go out, I mean, I feel like we do a lot of, in the summer months too, we do a lot of like day boating, and we try to, when we're doing that, put the phone down. Like we'll still be like tracking on SeaPeople, but you put the phone down, you enjoy the day, you take pictures here and there, whatever, with your phone. But like, it's just like not trying to take yourself away from that moment, right?
I literally run aground all the time now because I don't want to have navionics up all the time. I'm like, it's a crutch. I'm never going to learn the waterways if I'm running navionics all the time. So I'm like, I try so hard to not turn the plotters on and like really learn this area in North Carolina where we are a lot. And
that's
it's like
a good challenge.
It's good for you as a person. It's really bad for the lower unit on your outboard. It's really bad for the skate.
In my own like silly way, I feel like I do that a lot with just using navigation on my phone. Like when I'm driving, for example, it's like, well, I've been here once before. I think I know the way, and by default you plug it in anyways. So I'll do that all the time where I'm like, I'm just not going to plug it in and see if I can remember, and if I take a few wrong turns, whatever. So I guess it's the same concept of like, well, if I bump the bottom, I bump the bottom.
Yeah, you bump the bottom, it's all right.
Just back up. That's great. I do really want you guys to spend a few minutes though, like just feeling proud and allowing yourself to brag a little bit about what you've created. I know what brag sounds like such a negative word, but you deserve a good brag. And I'm wondering, like, what features are you most stoked about, and like what do you just feel most proud of based off of what you've created with SeaPeople?
Go for it.
You're gonna make me brag first.
Big question.
That is a big question. I think I'm excited for the future of SeaPeople with some of the features that we're getting ready to launch, especially being able to have all of this information in one place that's going to allow users to be inspired, to educate others, to provide a safety net. Like there's just so many different functions that this one platform is going to be able to provide a boater. And then on top of that, like not just cruisers, like right now we are, it's mainly cruisers in there, but I think we go cruising, we live life on power, but like on center consoles, we go fishing, we go canoeing, we go tubing down rivers. Like our life revolves so much around water, even when we're in the mountains.
Yep.
And it's like finding this place that we can all kind of come together, and it doesn't matter what kind of vessel you're on. It's like we all are water people, right? We all have this like common bond of loving to, that's where we find happiness. And so it's like just having this platform that allows like the whole community of water people, SeaPeople, I guess, to come together is what is, I guess, exciting and maybe what I'll brag
rewarding.
about.
It'll be very, very rewarding. And I imagine, you'll keep building it to cater to all of the water people.
Yeah.
I'll nerd out on this.
I was going to say, you can go ahead.
I like,
please.
I mentioned a little earlier, but we've got more than 100,000 nautical miles a week being tracked in the app. That's like like pressing start. So it's over 2 million miles tracked on the platform and over 7 million miles logged. So if you include people importing their GPX files from their chart plotters and drawing trips, their old trips, there's 7 million miles. So I think it's just like really good proof that the platform works and that it works well, and that people that do get it are tracking more. So all our back-end metrics shows that like people that have the aha moments, that get into it, they use it more and more and more, and they track more and more, which is really awesome. We were just named App of the Day, so we've been App of the Day in over 130 countries now.
Nice.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting. Now, I mean, there's only
That's
365
fantastic.
365 apps
days a
of the day
year,
a year, and that's all categories. Like for every app, and there's 20. How many apps are in the App Store?
Oh,
25 million. Now I'm confused. On my number. It's crazy
I
numbers.
don't know. It's crazy numbers.
30,000 apps
Lots
go
of
to
zeros.
30,000 apps go to the App Store a month, pretty much. So to be one of the apps of the day is a massive one for us. And yeah, to the features that we have and we've seen used, I think I'm most proud of the way people use them. During the tsunami, people were sharing early warnings with each other. They were sharing updates. But there are people on we have a thing called hails in the app where you can send a hail that can be seen kind of anywhere. So it's like VHF on steroids. And we had people talking to each other in real time in Alaska, California, Hawaii, and the South Pacific, all kind of giving updates on what they were seeing and sharing the alarms. And we have had people communicating on their way across the Pacific after a rudder breaks off, and the whole community comes together to help them MacGyver their way ashore. And then, the future of taking all these trips within the next week, we will be testing with a little bit bigger audience than just us, taking every single trip that's ever been in the app, and creating global heat maps where you can see every route that everybody's ever taken, and you can filter those, you can search those, you could literally type in, you can sort by your type of boat so that you can be like, oh, okay, well, sure, that's where all the sailboats went, but where did the trawlers go, right? And you can see the routes that the trawlers took when they crossed over to the Bahamas or when they went from, out to an island in Australia. And so taking all of this data that we've been fortunate enough that our users have kept putting into the app, and instead of just saying, okay, cool, who do we sell that data to, right? That's never been a topic conversation on our team ever. It's cool. How do we take that data and make something that's never been seen before? And these heat maps on the water I think are going to blow everybody's minds.
Yeah.
Like it's when you see the test side of it, you're like, holy shit. Like this is not something that boaters have ever had before, right? This global heat map of where all these people go, and they'd be able to search through them and tap them and see who went there and how long ago it was. And the world is about to change, I think.
That's incredibly exciting. And you can really, really specify then, you can hone in specific information and what you're looking for and what you're trying to find and what you're trying to learn. Wow. That is super exciting. When does that part of the app get released?
We never want to say when.
I know.
We played with it all weekend. It was the first chance to test it this last weekend on a weekend at the lake. And then everybody in the team has been testing it internally. We'll get our patrons. So we have Plus users that have like the paid features, and then we have this incredible group of people that are patron paying subscribers, and they get some early access to things, and they hop on Zoom calls with the co-founders sometimes, and we'll let them do some playing with it and testing. But yeah, I'd like to think that by the end of August, September, that we're gonna be showing the world
Sweet.
what it looks like, what everybody's travels look like around the world, and I think it's gonna be eye-popping and mind-blowing.
Well, hats off to you guys and to Elena and Riley of La Vagabond. They've done some excellent marketing and advertising. And John, of course, the coding brain. Yeah.
Yeah.
Would you guys mind? I want you to go ahead and just plug in where we can find you. Any thanks, shout outs you guys want to give to your team and to your people. Go for it.
You can download the app wherever you get your apps. So App Store, Google Play, SeaPeopleApp.com. And you can find us on Instagram at SeaPeopleApp. And there you'll find all of the latest features we're releasing. We do Sea People Live, which is a live Q&A with either users or brands that kind of
experts,
in fields. We launched challenges. So there's challenges within the app where you every 2 weeks, there's a new challenge launched typically go sail 3 times in this next 2 weeks, and you'll get, X and a trophy in your profile on SeaPeople So yeah, you can kind of keep up with that, keep up with some fun trips that are happening in the app. We post those on Instagram as well. Download SeaPeople and you'll be able to see all of that content right there as well. So
yeah, I want to give a huge thanks to just everybody that's touched the app, from the beginning. And that's every friend that any co-founder is called to get a little piece of advice, and everybody that put any kind of a touch or a stamp on the app. I mean, everybody's important, and their contributions are noted. I think it's super important to thank all of our early users, especially our beta users, the ones that were with us early on, and now it's becoming, as we try to keep the lights on, it's becoming shamelessly more important to thank our paying users. As weird as I thought I would never say something like that when we first got in this, I was like, I did not truly understand what it meant. You download an app and you're like, oh, they keep trying to get me to pay for it. And you're like, wow, why are they trying to get me to pay for this thing? And we're like, wow. So we have, 3 engineers, a designer, social media or content people, ourselves who have no other jobs other than working on this 50 or 60 hours a week. And so while we're trying to make payroll and trying not to just sell your data to people and throw ads at you, we've been super appreciative of everybody that smashed that button to do the $6.99 a month or the annuals, because at this size, literally and truly, every single paying customer matters. And we on the back end, when a paying customer comes through, it pushes through to a Slack channel where we can see that somebody just got a subscription. And I can honestly say that every single one of those gets a reaction. Like it's like fire emojis and smiley faces from team members. Like there's a celebration for every single.
So we see you.
We see you and we appreciate you, and we can't do it without you, because it's a hard world to raise money for apps. It's a hard world for to just stay true to your guns. And that's what we want to do, which is like, let's make an app that's for boaters by boaters. And that doesn't include tons of, ads all in your face. And it doesn't include all kinds of things we don't want to do, but we do shamelessly beg people to, if you love it and you enjoy it, like, help keep the lights on.
It's so important that you highlighted that, though, because, I think so many of us wonder, well, like, how does a free app even make money? Which is what you're kind of describing right now, right? Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, you're right. It's a harsh world, and the user just has a free service to use, and they don't care, right?
Yeah.
So they don't understand the ins and outs of, like, why it is important to, like, contribute $5 a month, $50 a month, whatever you can pull off towards a service that you're using and loving. And it's so nice to hear the humanity behind, the people that created it in the first place and why it matters. So I'm very, very glad you threw that out there. It is super important, and I think everyone needs that reminder.
Yeah, if you use the app, if you enjoy what you're using it for and you want to support it, or if the features that are behind the paywall are of importance to you and they help you save money, you can get rid of that DeLorme subscription. You can get rid of your other tracking, all these things that you can do with some of the paid features. that hopefully we also just give you real value to where it's a no-brainer to switch over.
Yeah, are you putting the DeLorme InReach out of business here?
I mean, well, no comment. Maybe I'd love to make a Garmin deal at some point. I'd love to get Garmin involved, but like if you go to the live tracking
they have
website,
plenty of other successes going on.
Every government in the world is using Garmin, so I think they're going to be okay.
They're going to be all right.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having us.
No, thank you.
Oh, thank you guys. I really enjoyed kind of your take on all of this and getting to know you a little bit better. I will enjoy my SeaPeople experience next week while I cruise around Lake Michigan.
Can't wait to see it.
We're gonna,
Yeah, I appreciate your guys' time, and it's a small sailing world, so surely I'll run into you someplace, somewhere, and hopefully it's on a boat with our children.
We will see you soon. Yeah.
All right, don't work too hard, all right?
Thanks.
Have a rest.
Same to you.
Yeah, take care.
Enjoy your
Thanks,
summer.
guys. Good chatting.
All right, bye.
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 On the Wind is the podcast about sailing, created by 59 North and hosted by me, Andy Schell, and also by Nikki Henderson, Jesse Zevelkink, and August Sandberg. The show is mixed and produced by me and August in Sweden and Norway, respectively. The intro theme music is composed and performed by former podcast guest, sailor, and musician Cameron Dale, while the outro music you're hearing now is, of course, by our friends, the Storm Weather Shanty Choir from Bergen, Norway. We love hearing from our fans, so send your questions and comments to holdfast@59-north.com, and please do us a favor and review the show on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts. Don't forget to join us on the Quarterdeck as well to nerd out about seamanship. That's quarterdeck.59-north.com. Until next time, hold fast.
And when me money was all gone on liquor and the horse, I made up me mind that I was inclined to go to sea no more. No more, no more, to go to sea no more. I made up me mind that I was inclined to go to sea no more. As I was walking down the street, I met sweet Angeline. She said, come home with me, me lad, and we'll have a cracking time. But when I awoke, it was no joke. I found I was all alone. My silver watch and my money too, and my whole bloody gear was gone. Was gone, was gone. My whole bloody gear was gone. It was when I awoke, it was no joke, for my whole bloody gear was gone. As I was walking down the street, I met Big Rapper Brown. I asked him if he would take me in, and he looked at me with a frown. He said, last time you was paid up with me, you talked up no score. But I'll take your advance and I'll give you a chance to go to sea once more. Once more, once more, to go to sea once more. I'll take your advance and I'll give you a chance to go to sea once more. Sometimes we're catching whales, me lads, but mostly we get none. With a 20-foot oar in every paw from 5 o'clock in the morn. And when daylight's gone and the night's coming on, we rest upon our oars. And oh boys, you wish that you was dead or snug with the girls ashore. Ashore, ashore, or snug with the girls ashore. Oh boys, you wish that you was dead or snug with the girls ashore. Come all you seafaring lads that listen to me song. When you go a big boating, boys, make sure you do not go wrong. You take my tip when you come off a trip, don't go with any horse. But get married instead and have all night in bed and go to sea no more. No more, no more, to go to sea no more. Get married instead and have all nights in bed and go to sea no more. No more, no more, to go to sea no more. Get married instead and have all nights in bed and go to sea no more.